Hey guys, Ben here with Oddly Armed, and today we're going to be doing another disassembly video, this time of an AKM, which I'm sure has never been done before on YouTube. This one in particular is a Bulgarian SLR-107FR from Arsenal. So let's go ahead, tear it apart, and see how the AK works. Alright, so to start things out, let's go ahead and remove that beautiful Bakelite magazine from this rifle, set that guy aside, and then one thing I want to demonstrate here real quick with the folding stock version of the AK, at least a side folding one here with this rear trunnion, is if you go ahead and try and fold the stock with an optic mounted here, it's going to get in the way. So you're not going to be able to fold it unless you take the optic off. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And this is just a Romeo MSR Gen 2 on a Midwest Industries mount. And pretty nice mount here, it works very well, and it just clamps down onto the side rail here. And with this full stock variant, you can see there's a cutout in the side of the stock, so when you fold it, eventually when I get to it, it'll actually go ahead and fit over that side rail and still lock to the side. Now to unlock it, there's going to be a button right here, so we can just press that in and your stock will flip out. And then additionally, there is a little cleaning kit on the inside of these full stock, so to get that out, you just put your finger in there, lift up on that trapdoor, and out will pop this cute little cleaning kit. And it has just some basic parts in there for cleaning an AK. It's nothing too crazy, but it gets the job done. Next, let's go ahead and remove that top cover, which is very easily done by pressing it on this button at the end of the recoil spring. So this will just pop off, and it's a very simple stamped steel part, so nothing really crazy to do with the dust cover here. And then if we look back into the receiver, you can see all of our workings in there, and the recoil spring, which is very easily removed by just pressing it forward, and its little track down here at the bottom of the rear or at the top of the rear trunnion. And then we can go ahead and pull the recoil spring out the front. Very typical AK recoil spring that has the two segments on it. Nothing too crazy to see there. And next up, so with an AK, when you disassemble it, you always want to make sure that you have your safety in the semi-automatic mode, because if you have it up here, it has a little protrusion here on the side of the bolt, as well as the bolt handle itself, which will get caught by the safety. So to actually pull your bolt back all the way, you have to have it in semi-auto. So when we put it in semi-auto, we can pull it back all the way to the end of the track here, where it's going to go ahead and pop out of its rails, and we can remove our bolt carrier assembly outside the rifle. And AK bolt carrier groups come apart incredibly easily, so you can see there's just a cam track in there. So if you press back on the bolt, you can go ahead and then rotate it out the back. And this is the lug that rides inside of the cam track there. And you can see just our extractor here, as well as the locking lugs, and there's really not too much to see here. On the Arsenals, this does have a spring-loaded firing pin on it. However, most AKs will have a floating firing pin that is not spring-loaded. Now moving back to the bolt carrier group, up here you can see the long stroke gas piston system. And then this is going to have a little bit of wobble to it, the piston itself, and that is actually a good thing. So that's for tolerances, and it makes it a little bit more reliable than if it was completely solid up front. And real quick, I can actually demonstrate how the bolt works in here. So you'll see we have the cam pin up top, and we'll go ahead and put this down into the receiver. And sometimes the hammer can get into the way when doing this, but we'll go ahead and get them on the track there. So the bolt is going to move forward in these tracks, and this is actually going to be your ejector, this little protrusion here on the side rail. And then when it gets into battery, it'll rotate to the right, and you can see then it is locked in place up in the chamber. And the recesses it locks into are going to be up here on the inside. So if you start seeing cracks on any of these recesses and any of these lugs on the inside of the trunnion, that is a major issue, so keep an eye out for that. But I'll just come up here, rotate, and lock. One more thing you can do if you really want to is remove your safety selector. It's completely unnecessary if you don't want to, but you can just rotate it up to the vertical position and it'll pull straight out the side of the stamped receiver, so you can just see that there. Nothing too crazy going on. And one thing to see on the inside of the receiver right here is a plate that the little protrusion here at the end of the safety selector actually pushes through, and that is your trigger pin retaining plate. So originally on the Arsenal guns, it comes with a shepherd hook to retain those trigger pins. However, this plate is a lot easier to deal with, so that's a very worthy upgrade if you're going to get one of these. As far as the trigger goes, I just have a Tapco G2 trigger in here. They really aren't too crazy, pretty easy to install, but the new ALG triggers are generally considered some of the best for the AK. And next up, we're going to go ahead and remove our gas tube. Now, real quick, I want to go ahead and highlight how much of an idiot I was at 22 years old. And I decided to put a Zukov handguard on this guy from Magpul. And to do that, you had to cut off the retaining plate for the original handguard. So I did that. I totally regret that, 10 years later. But anyways, now I have this Midwest Industries M-Lock handguard on there. However, we're going to have to remove the top portion here where you can mount a Aimpoint T1 to be able to remove the gas tube. So to get that off, super easy, just 4 different screws here. We'll just rotate those out really quickly. All right, and with those removed, I can go ahead and remove this top portion here, which will go ahead and let me lift that off, and we can go ahead and set that aside. And next, we're gonna have to rotate this lever here, and then you'll see when I rotate it, there's gonna be a flat right at the front there, and what you wanna do is make that flat line up with the your gas tube up here. And when it does, you can go ahead and just pull it straight off the top of the rifle. This is just another kind of stamped steel part that is completely hollow, but you want to clean this and make sure that it's nice and clean on the inside so it will get gummed up with carbon over time. Now, last thing we can do is remove the flash hider. So this is an AK-74 style flash hider, and it is held in with a pin here. So this is a 24 by 1.5 millimeter right hand, I believe, but we'll go ahead and just push that pin in, and then we can rotate it off. And this is actually a very effective flash hider and muzzle brake. Primarily muzzle brake, this thing actually does a good job of reducing recoil. And we'll go ahead and pop that off so you can just see that's a big old chamber there with a couple of holes to relieve it, and then a muzzle brake up front. And then here's those threads, and you can see this thing has had a lot of rounds through it over the years, so we got a little bit of carbon buildup up there. Not really going to hurt anything, and to remove that, you might end up damaging the crown of the barrel, so I wouldn't really want to clean this off too good. But yeah, that's all you really need to see for the flash hider. And that is a Bulgarian SLR-107FR fully disassembled. So thank you guys for watching the video. Please like, share, subscribe, do all the things that help the channel out, and I will catch you guys at the next video.